Okay. Excuse me. And then I have my morning talking voice. It says that we are live, so I'm going to give a minute for it to catch up just to make sure that it's working and everything looks good. And we have Kinnari behind the scenes with us today. I see she's already popped in. I think she was sitting there ready and waiting. Hmm. Oh, there it is. It just didn't refresh for some reason. All right. Now I see it and we're live and playing and everything is up where it should be. So that's good. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome. I'm excited to craft along with you today. We're going to be using some of the most recent release. If you participated in our most recent Create and Connect card event, you might already have your hands on this set today. So that'll be kind of an extra bonus for you. I also mentioned um, if you might notice that this is kind of just another one of those really beautiful, different, unusual sets. And that's kind of what we try and do for our Create and Connect events. They often end up being some of my very favorites and very unique and different. So if you have not seen or signed up yet, our registration for our next event in August is open right now. We have Spellbinders as our guest company, and Kinneri's hard working behind the scenes, getting all of the product for that in place. So I know we don't have any sneak peeks, but we like to keep those really fresh and new. So sometimes at this point, they're still just kind of getting the finishing touches on them. So we don't have any sneak peeks yet, but I don't think anyone's really been disappointed. And I hear so many people in these events just say, this one that I thought was going to be, I wouldn't know how to use it. And now it turned out to be my favorite. So it's kind of fun to just to play with some different things and use things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily pick up. Have some great instructors that show you some beautiful ways to use it. And then all the inspiration of everyone else in the event that's posting and sharing this. All right. Yeah, I see like Lee Murphy just said, it showed her that it wasn't just a Christmas one. So I see a lot of people kind of commenting on there about that. So yes, I think I saw someone else was going to craft along because they have this set too. So yay, super excited that you're going to play along with us today a little bit and make your own version. Um, and I almost forgot. I did have it turned on, so it's partly heated. I need to turn on my hot foil machine because we are going to be foiling today. That is the new part of this that was not part of the event, is the coordinating hot foil set. So we've got lots of hot foiling and stuff like that going on today. All right, so a couple things before we get started. You'll see that Pinkfresh Studio name, that's Kinnari behind the scenes. Once I start crafting, I don't always spot and see everything in the chat or the comments. So she does a great job. Often it's Leah, but Kinnari will know even more because she's the owner of Pinkfresh. So if you have any questions, she'll probably catch those if I miss them. If somehow we both miss them, every now and then the comments just start flying. Just leave that question again. I promise we're not ignoring you. Kinnari will also pick a $15 gift card at the end of this, a winner for that. She'll pick those from the comments. So the way you get entered to win that is just what everyone's doing already. Chatting in the comments, asking questions, answering questions if anyone else has them and you know the answer. Just kind of have fun being part of the community on there. And then another way that you can enter to win that $15 gift card is by sharing this video. You can grab the link either from your web browser or underneath the video. You can share it in a message to a friend. If you have a crafty friend, you can say, hey, come craft along and play. You can post it on your social media. If you're part of a crafty group, just double check, make sure it's allowed in the group rules, and you can post the link there. And then pop back over to those comments and leave us a comment letting us know you shared. Otherwise, we probably won't see and know that. And then one final thing that we really appreciate, it's not necessarily an entry for the giveaway, sorry, just checking my hot foil machine, is if you hit that thumbs up button. It just kind of helps our reach, helps more people find this video on the replay or watching live now. So if you can hit that thumbs up, we're really grateful for that. One final thing, everything that I'm using today is linked in the video description. I will add one exception. The hot foil that I linked right before I went live, I realized I need to get another roll because I only had like enough for half a panel and it wasn't going to work. So instead of polished brass, I'll be using blush, which also meant I had to change one of my bling color choices. So I'll update those afterwards. Otherwise, everything, ink colors and all of that and all the product I'm using is linked down there. So if you have any questions, I'll try and show them as I go along. So that should help as well. But that's a great reference just to know that those are down there. All right, my hot foil machine is almost reheated. It's funny, I literally just, there it is. Okay, I'm gonna switch my camera on. It is hot now and ready to go. So let's get started on what we have today. All right, push my sleeves up now. I had to close my window blind because it's super sunny today and it kind of just blinds out my desk when the sun is facing that way. All right, so I've already got this hot. I'm gonna put that timer on now. And then as I already mentioned, I'm gonna switch from polished brass to blush hot foil. So a small change and really any foil will work. Now the stamp die and stencil were included in the event. If you didn't do the event, then that would matter anyway. But if you did and you want, I'm going to use the hot foil. That's kind of the new addition to this line of stuff. So I really love this one in the hot foil. You can also heat emboss with the stamp to get a similar look. There's just something about the hot foiling. And then once we finish this one, I'm not going to do the reverse foil today because limited time. And I want to do, let me pull out that. Oh, there. We're also going to do a hot foiled frame. I'm going to do the largest nested arch. And the color I'm going to use to coordinate with my ink colors is called Moon Dust. It's from this variety pack set that has speckled aura, prism, fuchsia flower, and then this moon dust, which is, I feel like it's like the aqua of Aurora, that it's got that little bit of rainbow iridescence and then just this beautiful kind of aqua turquoise tone. So that's going to be our second hot foiling. But there, our timer has gone off. So let's go ahead and hot foil this piece first. Pop that loose. Put that piece of blush foil pretty side down. Cardstock over the top. And my two shims. And let's run this through. All right, I'm going to put that back on so it can start heating again. Set that aside. We'll pull that apart in a minute. I just want to get this, that one spooling and getting my nested arch warming up. So we're ready. And as soon as that gets hot, we'll be ready to go. All right, and then let's just pull this up and let's check out. And we've got a beautiful and perfect foiled image. I love this lantern. I think it's just so elegant and pretty. Now I want extra of the florals. So that was why I had my hot foil plate on before. And probably the reason I figured out I didn't have enough polished brass. So I've got two of those because I want to use that extra. I might do something else with the extra lantern too. I'm not quite sure, but for now we'll just double stencil. This doesn't have a lot of layers on there, so it should be pretty quick just to power through and do all of our stenciling. So, okay, and the platform's ready. So I'm going to set this aside again for a minute and get this moon dust foil trim so it's ready to go. Leanne, the solid hot foil, it must be sold out. I actually didn't know that, so I'm not certain about that. The best advice I always give is to sign up for restock notifications. That way, when it does come back in stock, you are automatically notified right away. All right, let's tuck that back in there. Okay. Might just have to do this later. I feel like I've got myself kind of. There it is. Sometimes you just kind of can't get things back in. I'm actually really thinking too that that fuchsia flower would be really pretty for those lanterns as well. Okay. get all of that out of the way for now. And as soon as this is done, we can kind of tidy up the desk a little bit. There we go. Our timer's ready. That has cooled down. Let me grab my die cut machine again. And let's do our beautiful arch. And that moon dust. I'm really excited to see this color with that. I'm also more tempted to do the solid foiling of this one, but we've got a lot of ink blending today, so we won't. Get that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and just turn my hot foil machine off. Oh, and you know what? That's not too bad. You know what? I'm going to turn that back on because I think I kind of messed up my foiling a little bit down there. It didn't foil perfectly. It's not that bad, but it's going to annoy me. So we're going to take just a second and get that. I think I'm kind of starting to wonder here if because I had another moment this last weekend where my hot foil machine, I already have another one. I just haven't gotten it out of the box yet. So I'm starting to think that my machine is maybe starting to wear out a little bit, which you can get away with it on those less solid images. But you can't really get away with it on the more solid ones like this. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna try and refoil that and we'll just see. If it doesn't, you know what? I'm not gonna worry about it too bad if it does that again because push it up a little because we can kind of cover that with florals too. So I'm not gonna overly stress about it, but I figure I might as well take the time to try and redo it. Takes a lot less time than necessarily worrying about the solid. Sherry, I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think we're okay. And actually, Kinnary just answered that about the watercolors and watercolor paper. So soon, I think we've kind of finally got some of the issues fixed. So it's just kind of a matter of time now. I'm looking at this. This will test my theory a little bit. If my heating on my machine is starting to wear out. All right. Just checking the comments while I wait for this to finish heating up. Look at that color. I didn't even notice how perfectly it coordinates with my die cut machine too. All right. There is our little timer going off. We'll give this another go and see what happens. Okay. Fingers crossed, and we'll either way, I'm just going to roll with what I have. So yep, and you know what? It kind of did that at the top there too. So I think my first one is best. So I'm going to have to break out my other machine here soon, but at least now I know. Some foils can be a little more finicky too. It could be that my foil is kind of getting old. I'm not exactly sure. But do just know that if you have a little bit of issues, sometimes it might not be you. It might be the machine. It might be the foil. There's a few different little things that can happen. All right, moving that out of the way for now. And let's go ahead and move on to some ink blending here. Got some fun colors pulled out that I'm kind of excited about. And like I said, I think I'll use my first arch because it foiled better at the top and it'll hide more of what's going on. All right, let's start off. I'm just going to go through the stencils in order, I think. So we'll just start off with stencil 1 and alternate between our 2 hot foiled panels. Hold on one second here. I need to take care of something really quick. I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I had bread in the oven and my girls were going to watch it and I was hearing the timer beep and they'd gotten out of the oven. They just didn't turn the timer off and I didn't want the bread burning. So I just wanted to make sure that that was taken care of. So sorry for that. Quick little blip to check that out. All right, let's get our stencils lined up here. Real life, you know? All right, let me pull out an ink stand here. And I think I'm going to start off here on this first one. I'm going to do the greenery with moss. Patricia, cardstock shim may have helped. I usually use a cardstock shim when I'm using the solid foil plate. And I had not, I generally don't do it with normal foiling, but that might have helped fix it. I just didn't want to keep troubleshooting for too long today because I felt like I needed to kind of move on and start working on the next step here. So I just decided that I would let that go for today. Okay, so I'm using Spanish moss. I think I might have put bay leaf in the product description because I think that's what I had it pulled out originally, but I'm going to stick with what I have pulled out here and just go for that. Apparently I'm having a bad case of the Mondays here today. And I'm going to focus on, as we often do, keeping the deepest color at the base of those leaves and then fading out to a little bit softer towards the outer edges. It's kind of our favorite way to add dimension to our ink blending, just a gentle little bit. And I love the extra depth that it adds. Okay, and then while we've got that going, I'm gonna grab a few little Post-it notes because I want to keep that lighter dimension there on the spots of the greenery. But I want to come in and add really deep color on part of this lantern and then really light on the other. I want to add that really, really good dimension there. And then the candle, we're going to do kind of the same. Although I realized by doing that, I actually made my lantern dark on 3 corners and then just a little bit of light shadow on that spot. So hoping that kind of worked like I hoped for. So the lantern will be our really bold spot. And then I don't know if you can hear the background dog. I am watching my brother's dog and she just decided that something apparently was scary and loud and annoying and she just went off barking at whatever that was. So all kinds of excitement in my house today. At least yesterday was the snow and the power outage and not today, right? Okay. So we're going to repeat the same thing. Do a little bit of ink blending on this. Keep a little bit of soft dimension on the other part. Now, mainly what I want actually is double of the greenery. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm even going to add. I actually am thinking about layering this lantern underneath with no color on it. So that's kind of my halfway theory. So I'm actually not going to ink blend on this lantern. We're just going to leave this white and see if it's kind of a fun way to add a little bit of dimension underneath there. Okay. The Spanish moss, it does have a little bit of a hint of a gold feel to it. I actually do really like that. Okay, so we've got both of our layers here with that first one. And I'm just going to clean these stencils later because I'm being careful where I put things on them and I'm not too worried. And I just want to, I don't want to smoosh the ink around anywhere that I don't actually want it. All right, the next one here is going to be our a little bit more lantern details and then those flowers. Move on to our next color. Patricia asking about running. So the main reason on the solid foil plate, I do run it through and then back. I usually don't on um, normal hot foil plates. And my main reason for that is I feel like I get more double foiling or it shifts and moves a little bit. So generally speaking, I really don't. But on the solid hot foil plate, yes, always. All right. And we're going to go Paradise, a nice, deep, pretty blue. This would be a good spot to pull out those little tiny bitty blending brushes, honestly. But we're just going to really focus on getting deeper color at the base of those. And then I'm going to swing this around. I'm going to do kind of the same thing I did on the other there. Really go in bold. And then keep the color softer over on that side. Okay. I love that. Ooh, look at how pretty. Oh, I love those two colors together. Okay. I'm going to do again the same thing on this one, only again, I'm going to stick with just the color on the flowers on this one too. I love this really deep, rich color. It's just so pretty. Okay. So Spanish moss, it isn't quite as faux gold as the warm buff, but it still has, it's just a little more of that green gold tone, but wow, that's so pretty. Okay, we've got one stencil layer left, and I'm actually going to start with the one I'm not stenciling the lantern. And this will be our little candle flame and just those little bitty berries. So kind of a simple little layer here. And this one, as I'm looking at this now, I'm almost tempted to switch colors, you guys. I was gonna do mango sorbet, but I'm really loving these just kind of moody blues and greens, and I'm almost leaning towards switching to we're gonna do it. We're gonna switch over to sweet mustard. So my colors that I posted will be a little bit different than what I'm going with right now, but I figure no one will be that mad at me, right? I'm just thinking that I just, sometimes when you're in the middle, you look at it and just think, let's just branch out a little. And this one, I don't need to worry about shading. We're just gonna pop that color in there because these are just little bitty berries in the flame, so nothing too interesting there. I don't know. You know what? We might go back. As I'm looking at that, I'm like, now the yellow, it feels like it just doesn't even show. So we might need that little pop of, but we can go right over the top of that with mimosa. All right. I'm just apparently nice and indecisive today. So back to mango sorbet. And let's just wipe off it'll have a little bit of a mixed dual tone, right? There'll be a little bit of the yellow showing underneath there, and then the little bit of especially on the flame. I'll leave those kind of two-toned and we'll see how that goes. Might really like that. Although I just realized that was going to be the plain flame anyway. Okay, yeah, it needed the orange. It needs that little pop there. On the bright side, though, I still think it works really well having the little bit of yellow underneath. So I'm going to still do that, especially on the flame. So it wasn't all wasted effort. Accidental adventures, what can we say, right? Back to that yellow, as I throw things around. Start there with a good bit of pop of yellow and everything. All right. Yellow first. And then back to mango sorbet. That little bit of dual tone. All right, and then I'd come in. I guess I didn't really need the masking on this one, but really add that extra color there on the bottom and side top, and then leave that part over there a little softer. So we really get that deeper pop of color there. Okay. I love hearing about everyone trying different colors. And Amy, you know what? I just right now was absolute proof that you're not stuck with anything. Sometimes you discover something new, and if you don't, I always say it's only paper. But okay, and I'm glad we went back to that mimosa on there, or mango sorbet. I keep saying mimosa because I think I had mimosa pulled out, and then I decided to go with the bolder tones. But so we've got two floral clusters, and then oh, and you know what? I did put the little bit of blue on the bottom of that one. So we'll see how it works. We'll see if it does what I was thinking about, and we might not even use that anyway. I was just thinking of a little bit of a shadow layer for that. All right. Amy, it is hard, but once you do it, it is so, there's something so freeing about it once you do that. It just makes you be brave again once you've moved on one time and done something that's kind of unique and different. All right, so let's pull out. We need to do some die cutting here now. Well, let's pivot over to some die cutting. And so this one, I'm pretty sure I want to just cut the window out and put the rest on. Where are, hold on here, I've got too many, there it is. All right, to make sure I have this centered, instead of just trimming down, what I often like to do is grab my nested rectangles, because that largest one is a perfectly A2 sized. So it makes it easy to kind of put it on, arrange it where I want it. And then when I die cut, then I know that that's going to be perfectly centered on my card. And I'm using the straight areas on these sides to line that up to die cut. Take this in shape as well. Get that all centered and lined up. Okay. And do some die cutting. So let's start with this one. And I'll be right back with that panel. All right, so now we have our perfect little, we still need to die cut the little window out of there, but we'll do that here in just a second. One little bit at a time. And let's go ahead and die cut this next. My plate, it's very well loved, very well used. Kind of warped a little bit, so I am going to use that bubble wrap trick to get, make sure I get all those details cut out well. All right, I'll be right back. Oh, little bitty piece there. Oh, that lantern is so pretty. Get that cut so well. I'm going to save the scraps of that because we'll use that for our sentiment here in a little bit. Probably for more than one sentiment. So there's some pretty good pieces on there. I could have done this on a smaller piece of white cardstock. I just like that extra space and having that little bit of freedom to not have to stress about it too much. All right, and I'm going to try just to reverse this around and see if I can reuse that same piece of bubble wrap to get a good cut. All right, be right back one more time. Patricia Bendel, yes. Okay, so the bubble wrap, if you're new here, that's one we use a lot. It works better than a metal shim for detailed eyes, especially when, like me, your plates are really well loved, or if it's a really big and intricate one. Just put it underneath and then your paper and your die on top. So it cuts through the paper to the bubble wrap and it's magical. That's all I can say there. So we'll see if this works. I don't usually reuse the bubble wrap, but I thought if I wrote, oh, you know what? It still did work. There was enough, I think, difference in what I was cutting through that it did the trick. So that's an extra added bonus. Yay. All right. I'll deal with all those little pieces later. But let's go ahead. I don't think we'll need that other candle, but we'll pop it on there anyway. All right, I think we just need to cut the center out of our arch and then we might be done for the most. Oh, well, actually, I take that back. There's one more thing that's a little less necessarily straight up die cutting, but kind of matters. All right, let's have our inside. Yes, that's the right one. Window there. Good. Put the tape there to hold those in place. And I'm rather careful when I'm taping, because if you get the tape on the foil, it will mess up and pull up that foil. All right, one more time over here with this. There's that middle frame, and I can already see that the colors are just that aqua frame. Okay, let's just kind of do a little bit of a rough idea of kind of what I have in mind here. Popping our florals at the top and the bottom, which then brings me to, I'm going to save this arch for another thing. Then that brings me to the final little thing I want to die. I've got some of our ivory cardstock and I want to tuck that back behind, but I wanted to add a little bit of texture to it. So I'm going to use the Intricate Stitch Ovals cover plate. I'm going to use that to add just a little bit of interest to that background there. All right, I will be right back and die cut this one. Okay. And I don't know how much, I think you can see it on there if I catch the reflection. It just adds a little bit of texture. It's not like a hugely in your face kind of noticeable thing, but oh yeah. And as I tuck it back behind there, I think that looks really, really fun. All right. We're doing really good for all the layers and the ink blending and everything. So we just need to do a final little bit of some assembly. I'm gonna grab my little thing and poke. I've got a few little random chads hiding behind here. And this is kind of what I was picturing on this. I'm trying to decide, do I wanna, you know what? I don't think I even want, I think if anything, I'm just gonna stick them together to make it a little more dimensional. Then we're not wasting that piece that we have die cut. But the shadow part just kind of ruins those little openings there. So I'm gonna not do that, but I'll still use that for the added dimension. We'll get all those added little bits out of there. Those are the little details that just make these florals that much more intricate. Another little one there. Okay. I think I got all of those. Tuck that back out of the way. And then I think we want to put this up on some foam adhesive. So we have a little bit of a window there. So Sherry, the arch die, I feel like is one of my all-time favorites. It's one that I can just never get enough of. All right, we're gonna go with the foam strips here to pop this up. So I think that's gonna be perfect. That glitter paper behind there. And these are thin foam strips, but when I want a little bit bigger piece, sometimes I'll grab 2 or 3 of them together, which is what I'm doing here. So in case that looks a little bit different than normal, kind of an easier way. I'm not turning this into a shaker or anything, although that would be really lovely. Gail, same thing. Or because she just said that she thinks of using the bubble mailer when she tries and fails. And I've done that many times. The great thing is they usually fit back in and you can still just run it through and you don't lose the piece you're working on. But I also, when I notice my plates are starting to get pretty beat up and I need to change them and I'm lazy and haven't changed them, I can get a lot more life out of just adding that bubble mailer. Plus, I always have lots of them on hand. Emily, Heather going out of her comfort zone. You know what? I love branching out on colors. I do have favorites that I default to. I think we all do, but I really do love just trying new colors and new ideas. All right. So there we've got our little window there. Hopefully you can see that little bit of texture back behind there. And we are going to glue this lantern together since we're going to pop that up with foam. I'm just going to go ahead and get those layered together here. Just with a little liquid glue. And then might as well do the same on the little candle. It's not as critical, but those pieces are just going to kind of be a little more down on the glitter paper, and that'll give them a little bit of dimension without needing to necessarily use the foam adhesive on there. I like that. Okay. And that little candle tucked back in there just looks so super cute. So let's kind of plan our layout before we commit too far. Realize I should probably get this whole thing onto a card base now as well so that it can start trying as well. I'm going to use some good sturdy adhesive here just to get that adhered in place. With your well, that glitter paper just sometimes needs a little extra help. Any tea to spill today? Okay. Vicki, I just realized what you were asking for, like secret information from Kinnery, because I did literally one time spill my tea across my desk during a live. So for a second, I thought you were like trying to curse me to the again. We got through it. We got it taken care of, but that was legitimately the first spot my mind went to there. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of a laugh. All right, now where I want to decide here. I think I do. I want to tuck those greenery piece there. And then the next thing is, do I want to, you know what? I think we're going to do it. You guys ready? I'm going to do a little bit of surgery here. Scary. But that way I can tuck that little piece back behind there. And then I think I'm going to bring this little piece. Let's see, what do we want to do there? Actually, I kind of do like it like that. We tuck that kind of coming up from behind there. So we've kind of got this swag and then a little tiny bit of a little tuck behind there. Either that or coming down from up there. What do we prefer? Or nope, I definitely think I like this one better up here. I just got to decide how we want it. And this one coming up from here is better. Now I'm just undecided on, do I want it coming from behind the lantern or do we want it coming down from the top? So a little wiggling around until we like what we see. I think I'm agreeing. I saw someone saying tucked. I think I do like it just kind of tucked and coming out from there. Okay. And you know what? I said I wasn't gonna, but I am gonna put, as it turns out, a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of that lantern. The florals I'm gonna tuck in with liquid glue, but I think I want that lantern a little bit popped up. And I'm gonna add a little bit just to help stick this down to the glitter. A little bit of liquid glue as well. And a little bit off to the side there, making sure that the top of that goes up there. Gonna fluff these florals a little and then add some good little dots of liquid glue. And then tuck that so it kind of comes up around from there. And let's also get that little candle in there as well. I think I am going to add a tiny smidge of foam adhesive to that as well. Very little piece. You know what? That's not even small enough. It needs to be really small. Same thing, a little bit of liquid glue there. We'll tuck it under so that the foam kind of pops it out of there. I hope you can kind of see that little bit of dimension there. So it tucks under and then the foam pushes it out a little. All right, then we'll do a little bit of gentle fluffing on there as well before we tuck those around. Get all of these and then stick them down. That one, snuggle that in there as well. Try and get those adhered down a little bit on the glitter paper. I am gonna kind of stick that down. Now weight those in there a little bit. I'm kind of tucked in where it's, all right, I'm standing that little block up on its side. We'll just get all that kind of bopped around in there so that it'll kind of hold that down while that glows a little. Glows. The lantern would glow while it dries a little bit. Let me figure out how to talk again. While it does that, let's go ahead and get our sentiment stamped. Yes, it is Cannery today. We kind of have things switched up a little bit. So I'm going to pull some of my scraps off of this. Save the rest for later. Henry's answering the question about scrapbooking stuff. That was a really hard to come to decision. And but sometimes change is necessary. All right, well, those dry. I gotta decide. I'm kind of liking, I think that one right there is exactly the one. You glow with kindness. Seems like a perfect fit. I really like spending time with you. It's pure joy too. Eden, thank you for being so sweet. Oh, you guys, I don't know which one to use. The you glow with kindness kind of fits, but I actually think I'm going to go with the thank you for being so sweet. Yes, wedding colors, it would be very pretty. I agree. All right, I'm going to stick with just, we've got all those lovely colors and everything on there. So I'm going to stick just with simple detail black for this sentiment. I think it's going to need that really nice crisp image there. And I like to stamp these little detail-y, tiny sentiments with very soft pressure. So I stamp them 2 or 3 times to make sure I get a great impression, just because then you don't mush it out and get things kind of losing those details. All right, got a little fuzz there, but that looks really good now. I think that's going to be perfect. I'm going to clean off that stamp image real quick. Okay. And then I'll pull out my little mini die cut machine. And hold on, I guess I do need the die for the start. I'm trying to kind of read. Jennifer, I really do. I feel like the glow with kindness fit, but that thank you for being so sweet just kind of stole my heart a little bit there. So I had to go with it. Vicky, thank you. That was a fun live. I felt like I was so tired after our busy weekend. So I'm looking forward to doing that again when I'm a little more awake. Get this out of the way so it'll fit through my little mini die cut machine instead of pulling out that big one for one little thing here. There we go. And then just because you know that's how we like to do it, I'm gonna grab some of these scraps and cut a couple extra just to layer up on here as well. And I'm not wasting some of these scraps as well. I just love making use of some of those things. And Vicki, there actually are some pretty great ones that come on that the lantern set. I just kind of want to branch out and do something a little bit different. There was also another one that I found on, let me see if I can pull that out. I think I really probably would have been tempted to use this one as well. This is from Always Uplifting, but there wasn't a coordinating die, but you couldn't hide your light if you tried. That was another one that I thought would have been a really fun one. So just to throw out another idea if you needed more ideas. All right, and I think those have probably glued down enough that they look like they want to stay in place. So that's good there. Let's get this sentiment all ready to tuck in. That's going to be really cute there. And then we just need to add some bling and we're going to finish on time, which when I had to kind of, or actually didn't even end up helping as it turned out, but when my first foiling didn't turn out and I had to do extra, I was a little worried we'd be really far behind. And as it turned out, didn't have too much trouble. Stack those up. And then I do think even with those stacked, I am going to pop them up on a touch of foam adhesive. Just some little thin strips there to bump up the dimension slightly. That could be something you could skip if you wanted to. You preferred. I just figure the more dimension, the better. So not worried about sticking more on the florals than on the glitter. So let's just kind of tap that flower a little bit under there. So the bottom, well, let's see. Yeah, I think I like that better. Get that down there. Make sure it's straight and then glue that in place. And then all we have to do is add our little bit of embellishments. And let's see if what I originally picked, I was picturing this being a lot more dark and moody. And now that I'm looking on here, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't know. I don't think it ended up being a little brighter than I pictured. So I've got these. Let me check one thing. I might have just kind of switched my mind on all of what I'm doing. So I'm pulling out all the bling. You know what? And actually that gold that I initially had pulled out that I didn't think would go as well, I actually think I kind of like it on there. But also see the iridescent clear drops working really well too. Do a quick perusal and just see. Mm, nope, not those. I might just revert back to the initial gold that I had on there. So maybe a little less changes than I first thought, right? So let's get that out on there and let's tuck a few of these around on our card. Okay, I'm leaning towards, see if I can cover up a little more of that imperfect foiling that I don't like at the bottom there. Kind of hide that for myself. Oopsie. I just need, there it is. A little bit there. And then maybe a little bit up around there. Let's try that. Don't want to cover up the arch up there. And maybe even a couple down there. Let's see. Not sure about those. Nope, I don't like those. Didn't know until I got them on there, but also don't know if I love. Let's try this. Maybe a few more down here would work. Sorry, as I fiddle around with this to get it something that I'm happy with. All right, maybe that. Because that will really just go for covering up that little bit of imperfect foiling. So now if I do that, then we gotta decide. Maybe it will be better to add one left of those itty bitties there. Actually might work better, slightly overlapping the arch. There we go. I think I like that better. I'm gonna commit, we're gonna go for that. Vicky, I think, believe it or not, I think everybody struggles with that. Actually, I'm gonna dump these back out for a second because I might have a little added random thought that it might be nice to add one or two onto the lantern, but let me, oh, like at very least, I think it needs that one there. Nope, not that big there, but yep. All right, a couple more of those little bitties are going to be in order, so I just got to get those on there to where I'm happy with that. So it needs that extra little bit of spiffing it up there, you know? Sometimes you just got to get those on there. I like that. Okay. And that I feel like kind of does the final pulling it together that I wanted. So, whew. Let me start adhering all of these down and then we'll be completed with our card. Thank you for bearing with me as I fiddled around there on all of these gem placements. Starting to get to the point of just where I feel like I'm overthinking and I'm not going to like anything. So I need to get them stuck down before I end up flinging them all off and starting over from scratch. Anyone else kind of identify with that? Hope it's not just me. Fortunately, it takes a lot longer to figure out where to put them than to actually stick them down. Just a few more. Almost there. Oh. I know I'm missing all of the comments. All right. And I'm gonna call this done. Yes, the trays are a lifesaver. And I already put this away. My goodness, you guys. Losing my brain. All right. There is our finished card. And I love that it's kind of those moody, bright, fun colors, but then keeping the background, kind of that glitter, the light, soft glitter. Everything is kind of a perfect way to finish that off. Thanks for bearing with me as I did lots of thinking. And I see, as I switch the camera around, I see Kinnery has announced the winner already. Jeanette Floyd, if I said your name right. You are today's $15 gift card winner. So to claim that, all you need to do is email Leah at pinkfreshstudio.com. Her name is in that chat where you're tagged with. And give her a few days to get back to you. She gets lots of emails, so it might take her a couple of business days. But congratulations, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm just seeing a comment there. Who was that? Vicky. I'm so sorry. That's not nice at all. Influenza or flu A. I had that a few years ago in Disney World of all places. So someone asking about that jewel tray, it is linked in the video description as well if you're looking for that. So that's an easy, quick way to find that. So this is our only live for this week. No scrapbook live this week. No craft hour. We had craft hour last Saturday. If you missed that, go watch the replay. That was with Isha. She's on our design team, and also they were demoing a stamp that she was the artist who designed it as well. So thank you everyone for joining. We're right on time, so I'm going to end this, and we will see you again next week. Leah will be crafting, and we'll also have Scrapbook Live next week. But have a great rest of your week and a good weekend. Bye for now.